to the Backyard Professor Chess videos. I'm here in the beautiful Driggs Valley here in Idaho. I've got the Grand Tetons behind me. You probably won't be able to see them during the course of me showing you this chess game. But I've got some beautiful scenes of the Tetons to show you. I have one of the most important games in my life for a number of reasons. Not because it was sensational Grandmaster chess, but because of what it taught me about the psychology that we must have in a chess game. This taught me the psychology better than any other game I've played so far. This is one of those games that we'll all be able to play because I'm playing a much stronger opponent than myself. I have that psychological burden to deal with. And this particular game goes from bad to worse to a complete nightmare. And then I had a paradigm shift. So what I want to do is I want to play through this game with you, and I will talk out loud, basically trying to remember as much as I can of what I was thinking and how I was thinking, and the move that completely transformed my chess psychology and why. And I also want to show you what I think is simply the most beautiful checkmate I have ever done in my life. Now that's not the whole reason to show you this, but that's one of the reasons. So let me show you this game. It's really rather a basic king-pawn opening. I'm playing white, my opponent is playing black. He's obviously going to want to fianchetto his bishop, which I don't think is a bad way to open a chess game if you fianchetto the bishop. Then he pulls a pawn up to d6, and I go ahead and press my f-pawn, getting some good kingside central support, and he will immediately challenge the center. Again, you don't ever want to let your opponent build up too strong of the center. So I bring my second knight up. The knights help support the central four squares in really wonderful ways, and he takes my pawn. And I'm thinking, well, that's another pawn move. I've got two knights, and he's got nothing but pawns, so my development's doing pretty good. I'm going to continue on with my development and pull my bishop up here to c4. And he brings his bishop out. Now, my bishop, by definition, again, is bad because of this central pawn, although it's going to be completely active. And I'm thinking, well, he's not going to swap the bishops yet. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my queen up here, develop my queen, get my king ready for the backside, whichever direction I want to castle. I'm thinking, well, he's not going to exchange the bishops, but he does exchange the bishops. And I'm thinking, well, I mean, if you want to exchange the bishops, you may as well, because I still have a really huge lead in development rather than my opponent. And by the time I take your bishop, I'm going to have a queen, two knights, and a central pawn. And what have you got? You know, this guy's stronger than me, for real? In my opinion, it's a rather weak opening he's doing. He brings his knight out, and I got my castle going. So I'm castled. I just about have my entire army developed, and he's got one knight and a couple of pawns. I'm not that impressed. I'm thinking, you know what, buddy? I'm going to mow you over. I'm going to show you how the game is played. Here we go. He finally fianchettos his bishop. So he does have a bishop going for him. And I decide, hey, I'm going to show you pure power. I'm going to completely dominate the center. Now, obviously, I have more space. At this point, I have more space than he does in the center. I am vastly superior in my development. This is a cakewashe. This is a piece of cake, man. No problem. And then to boot, he pushes another pawn move. And I'm thinking, you know, you may as well resign the game, pal, because I'm going to blister you real bad. In fact, you go ahead and keep moving your pawns. I'm going to better my position. And I'm going to put my rook directly across from your king. And I've got some nasty tactic tricks. I'm going to wipe the floor with you. This is a piece of cake. Again, he pushes another pawn move. And this one threatens my knight. Well, he's got a central pass pawn too. I'm thinking, well, all right. I'll move my knight out of harm's way. That's not a big deal. Then the dirty rat takes one of my central pawns with his bishop. Dang it. It's not a bad move. He's covered with his knight, too. So this kind of sobered me up a little bit, and I said, well, all right, I'm in check besides. He's got a central pawn of mine, so I've got to move out of check. Then he brings his bishop down here to f2, directly against my rook. I'm thinking, man, this is getting bad. He's already got a power on my 7th rank that I can't do a thing about at this point. I'm on the defense, and these pawns are starting to look a little dangerous. I really don't like those pawns there, but I'm not trapped. I can move my rook out of danger. And then he brings his queen down here to h4. And I'm kind of beginning to sober up a little bit. I'm going, wow, this is getting worse. That's a good move. And obviously, my army's over here, and my king's over here, and his army is gathering over here. I have to keep track of my king, so I'm going to pull my knight to f1 to cover the h2 square and the g3 square. I've got to have a little bit more power and protection for my king. Then he pushes his pawn to f3. This is getting to be a nightmare, man. This is not good. A few moments ago, I had him wiped out in development, so I retook with my pawn. And of course, my opponent retook with the pawn, again threatening my rook, opening up lanes to my king to where he can perform a really rather simple checkmate. My king side is absolutely decimated. And I'm scratching my head thinking, you know, just a couple moves ago, I had this guy on the ropes, I thought. And now he's completely destroying me. I'm in trouble. I have to move out of danger, but that pawn is becoming a pain. I mean, I've got to do something about that pawn. I moved out of danger, and then he castled queenside. So he's connecting his rooks now too. Now you can see why development is only a temporary imbalance, because now he's essentially caught me in development because he is really playing some good chess. Well, I see a small opening. I see a way to get to this pawn, and in the process, I get to take a pawn on f7, and now I'm directly confronting this pawn. So I'm going to be able to alleviate the pressure against my king here. And at this point, I really have to get rid of his pawn. And I found a pretty good way. Well, he moves his knight in front of my queen, blocking my queen. His knight is supported by his queen. So that didn't work. But, you know, I can see if I can try to chase the knight away, press my pawn. Of course, all he does is takes that pawn with his pawn. So my queen is still blocked out, but I've got another option. I can still get rid of this pawn. I can pull my rook up here, and that gives me not only my open file challenging his rook, but it also gives me an access across to his queen to get rid of this checkmate problem here I'm beginning to see. So this is a pretty good move to get rid of that pawn. and he brings his knight down to d4, supporting the pawn, and his knight is on a gorgeous outpost to boot, so I'll lose the exchange if I get rid of that knight. And I'm thinking, well, all right, I can apply some indirect pressure and still give my king some breathing room by indirectly challenging that pawn, by getting rid of this bishop. This bishop-queen combination is a tough one on my king side. So I still have options. This also opens up my other rook to come over here to help give my king support. So I think indirectly I can get rid of a couple of the supporting pieces, and I'll be able to eliminate that dang passed pawn. That passed pawn is on the 6th rank, man. That is too powerful. I have to do something about that passed pawn. Then he takes his knight, and he takes my pawn on c2, forking my rook and my bishop. And it was at this point that I boiled over inside. I said, hold it. Just wait a minute. What in the Sam Hill is going on in this stupid game? I am getting mopped up here badly. It turns out that this knight move, where he forks my rook and bishop, is his losing move, because it switched my psychology. I sat back and looked at it and I said, something's wrong here. Why in the heck am I getting trounced in a game that I had 4 powers developed before he ever did? And now he's completely eating me alive. And I thought about it for a minute. And I thought, I have been reacting to his chess moves. I have been so worried about what he was doing with this pawn and this bishop on my 7th rank and his queen over here that I don't even have a plan. I am reacting to his chess moves. And I'm getting wiped off the board. I don't even have a plan. I don't even know what the imbalances are. I don't even know what's in my favor in this position. And I asked myself, what would Jeremy Silman tell me to do if he was sitting right here coaching me in this game? Because it is his chess course that I'm studying right now, all of his books. The Amateur's Mind and several of the others. What would Jeremy Silman tell me if he was sitting here right now? Well, first he would say, yo, hey, McShirts, you idiot. You don't have a plan. And the second thing you're doing real stupidly is, all you're doing is reacting to his threats. You aren't doing a thing. You're not even playing the game. So what do I do, Mr. Silman? And here's what I believe he would say. It's what I thought. The first thing I need to do is quit worrying about playing a stronger player than me. You're not playing a rating. You're playing the board. This is what I'm playing against. I have to objectively look at the board, see the imbalances that are in my favor, and begin to work those imbalances that are in my favor. Well, I'm looking at this. What do you see when you look at this? Number one, his kingside pawn majority and his other pawns are going to win the game. If all of the pieces were taken off except the pawns, he would win this game. So that's a bonus in his favor. That's an imbalance in his favor. He, materials even, a knight, 2 knights, a bishop, a queen, and 2 rooks. I have the 2 rooks, 2 knights, and a bishop. So materials even as far as the powers go, the pieces. The king is tucked safely away. Nothing's exposed, really. There is an open file here, and we are competing together for this open file. My rook is up here on d3, so I can move my other rook over and dominate that file. So technically, I can own the file. Is there anything else you notice in this position? Now, Silman says when you find yourself in this kind of a situation, because you've been daydreaming, or else you've just been making worthless developing moves, or like I was, you are reacting to what your opponent is doing. If it takes you an hour to find the right plan and the right move, then you take an hour and find the right plan and find the right move. Doesn't matter what it takes. You're getting blown off the board right now. You'd better do something about it. That's the key. So in looking at this, I begin to notice a couple of peculiarities. Number one, he really doesn't have his army coherently all together. He's pretty much scattered all over the board. He's got a rook over here, a rook over there, a knight here, a queen way over on the side, a bishop on my 7th rank, and a knight on my 7th rank. I mean, criminy, he has more powers on my 7th rank than I do. He has more of his army in my territory than I do, almost. It's a pretty disgusting picture. But I did notice that this knight is undefended. You notice that? Aha. This knight is defended by the queen, but she is being overworked because she's also protecting this bishop at the same time. If I could find a way to get that queen off of that square, I have 2 pieces right here that I'm attacking right now. This bishop is being attacked with my bishop, and this knight is being attacked by my queen. So I got to find a way to make the queen move, and I've got 2 powers right there. The pawn is undefended. This pawn is undefended. This rook isn't even using his influence in the game. So there are some things I'm noticing here that I'm saying, okay, wait a sec. Silman says when you see undefended pieces, when you see a piece that's overworked, guarding too much at one time, perhaps there is a combination you can do. And I looked again, and I noticed something spooky. In 2 moves, I'm in checkmate. Queen to here, and then queen drops down to there, or down to there. Or there, either way. So I have to do something very, very quick, or I'm going to be in checkmate. It's not that far away from the end of the game here. Do you see a move that I can make that I quit reacting to my opponent and immediately take charge of this game? I need to impose my will on him. He's been imposing his will on me. It's my turn. I have to do something powerful right now. I have to take the initiative. I have to. It's not an option. I am close to checkmate. It's now or done. Do you see what move I found? I believe Silman would say it's the absolute very best move you can make in this position. Someday if he watches this video, he can agree or disagree with me. At this point, he's going to laugh at my stupid play, but so what? So am I at this point. This is his knight move, forking my bishop and rook. That's his losing move. Because that's the move that jolted me and said, oh my gosh, I don't have a plan. I'm simply reacting to him. And then I took the time and I came up with a plan. I moved my knight to b5. And now, all I have to do is push my queen right to c7, and I've got a checkmate. I have a queen on the 7th rank. It's not a rook, but it is a queen. So that rank's mine. So now he has to do something about it, and I'm thinking, hey, I am now taking charge. Take that, boy. And he does a good defensive move. He puts his knight right on d5, protects the pawn. But it doesn't take away my checkmate threat. I still have this line. So now what I have to do is I have to get rid of that knight. I'm thinking, well, I've got a rook right here. I can take that knight. But I'll lose the exchange with his rook. Who cares? I still have the checkmate. So take the knight. So I did. I took the knight. And at this point, he moves his king. He has no choice. It's a forced move. Now, you notice the turnabout? I'm not worrying about what's going on over here anymore. I am directly imposing my will. I found a plan. Take the initiative back. I have a potential checkmate here. And something remarkably interesting happens at this point in time. He moved, but I still have this angle, so I take that pawn with my queen anyway. Check. I also have a free knight, and I'm going to be up a power. Woohoo! And of course, his next move again is literally forced. He's right down here to a8. Now, do I immediately take advantage of that knight? No. There's a stronger move still from here. Once I decide to come up with a plan and to quit reacting to his play and impose my will on this game, now everything opens up. Look at this. We were even in powers just a few short moves ago. Now I can take his rook with my rook. Now I'm up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 powers, and he's only got 1, 2, 3, 4 powers. I'm winning. He doesn't retake my rook with his rook. I got him to move his queen. His queen takes my rook, because he sees the powerful position I'm in, dropping my queen down and going checkmate too. So he has to bring his big power to bear on the game. And now that I'm ahead and I'm changing down, now I swoop down and I get me a free knight, and I get the bishop as well. He's down to 3 powers. I have 5. So he obviously exchanges. I don't think he should have. I think he should have brought the bishop back up into here. I think this was an error on his part. He's down powers. He should not exchange. When you're lower than your opponent, you should not exchange powers. He should have brought his bishop back up, but he didn't. Now look at this game. He only has a queen and rook and several undefended, loose, easy pawns, targets. And I've got a knight, a queen, and I'm on the attack. That's sensational. Well, he brings his queen back to g5, threatening my knight. He's got to get something going here. And I say, nothing doing. I'm going to bring my knight down here, and I'm going to protect my king. My king is still wide open, and there's still this matter of the passed pawn that I'm going to have to deal with eventually. He brings his little lady up here to guard his second rank, and I decide, you know, I'm going to go on the attack again. I'm going to put him in check, make sure his king knows I'm still around here, and now I'm going to bring my other knight into the game. Now, my knight being down here, he can't come down here yet and checkmate me, because now I have my 8th rank open with my rook to protect me. But he can drop right down there and checkmate me without my knight there. So I put my knight there. My knight also, from preventing checkmate, it also guards the queening square from this passed pawn. So that knight's a powerful knight, and if he chooses to press this pawn, it's a blockading knight. So that knight is really powerful right now. It's doing several things all at once. He brings his queen down behind the passed pawn. You now know he's got to push this passed pawn. That's his agenda. That's his agenda. I don't care anymore. I do, but I'm not going to pull all my pieces to his pawn. I have something else I'd rather do. First off, look at the central power of my knights, my queen, and how I'm pushing him out of the way. And of course, here comes the pawn. I have this square covered. I'm honestly not worried about it. I have the square covered. I have the square covered from my rook also. That pawn, if it queens, it's not going to survive. So, I bring my queen up to e4, grand centralization. Even in the last part of the game, centralizing your power is the thing to do. Now, I threaten this pawn, I keep this pawn in check, and I'm eyeing the area to where his king's at. And I still have this knight here to help me checkmate the king when I need to. He comes down to h5. I finally bring my rook into the game. I have to get every piece involved. Every piece. My rook wasn't doing much there. Here he is a much better piece. So bring him into the game. This frees up my knights and my queen from guarding that pawn so that they can control the rest of the game. He brings his rook out finally, trying to dominate this isle here for the checkmating square. I bring my knight in front of that area. I block off the lane for his rook, and he drops his queen down one. Give support to the pawn because I'm threatening that pawn, and that is his only hope. I will exchange with him here if he wants to, because I have more powers than he does. So, it's time to protect that pawn. I'm getting ready to kill a pawn. Instead, I also have this option of taking this pawn and putting his king in check again. His king comes back to here, and I noticed something at this point that absolutely got me seriously excited. I'm able to go check with my knight. His queen is on the edge of the board. His queen is doing defense duty, guarding his pawn. It looks like I have to center all my power onto this pawn. I don't. I still have 2 extra powers over here being able to do some damage, and he has to protect his pawn. Check to the king. There's only one square this king can go to, and that's b7. It's at this point that I absolutely lost it because I was so excited. Do you see the checkmate I've got coming? This is so beautiful. This is the first time I've ever been able to do this. This is the first time, man. Watch this next move. I have a discovered check when I move my knight. So I move my knight to here, and I give him double check and discovered check at the same time. All he can do is move his king back to a8. And now comes the move of moves. I pop my queen right there and say check. He only has one option. My knight has my queen guarded. He only has one option. Take my queen with the rook. And now my checkmate. A smother checkmate. I love it. That's the first time in my life I've been able to do a checkmate like that. This all came about because when he forked my rook and bishop with that knight, that jarred me. Psychologically, if you're reacting to your opponent, you're playing losing chess. I hope this game gives you that example in a powerful way. It did me. When you take the initiative, when you make a plan, when you use the imbalances that's in your favor to play your game and not react to your opponent, when you learn how to read the chessboard correctly and decipher it and see what it wants you to play, you will begin playing winning chess. If you don't understand the difference between reaction to your opponent and you taking charge of the game, rewatch this video several times till you get it. It will transform you into a winning chess player. You're not going to win every game, of course not. But you're certainly going to win more now than you would have if you'd have kept playing the same old reaction chess. So happy checkmating. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.